Hello people, and welcome back to part 10 of Ilos, our modded Cities Skylines build. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much indeed for all the support during our little geometric suburb design and indeed the subsequent live stream. You guys very much enjoyed playing with water for the first time in Ilos and coming up with some more interesting residential designs away from kind of our typical planned out stuff that we've been working with so far. And then during the live stream, we came in and started to continue to develop the diagonal high-speed access road, which is getting some nice use now. It was a little slightly dodgy sort of off-ramp system, but it's fun to experiment, right? We also brought in some more highway art, Chunk Fox, since he's a little bit girthy for a fox, but some more highway art in now. And then also touched on some more realistic and modern day cemetery designs to sit alongside a corner of the arterial road, alongside some big box retail, which is currently struggling for workers, and we have an enormous spike for residential demand, which leads me into today's episode towards this lake over here. So very much like last time, I want to play with some more watery ideas today, because we saw that Phoenix has a ton of these suburbs, but of course decide exactly what we're going to be doing here today, we do need to head into Google Earth. And welcome to Google Earth, everyone. So we would have seen this last week when we looked at the geometric water suburb, and this is what I'm quite keen on working with today. Alright, so lots more water and lots more chiseled out designs. We can also see Cul De Sacs at the end of each road, which can be done with Noad Controller. We'll talk about how we can make these little kind of Cul De Sac roads today. And just generally make this style of water suburb sit in and around the desert. We can see we have like a little retail park, strip mall type thing going on here. You know, some of these roads are bridges. And it's going to be a nice time today, I think, okay? So, really new, interesting ideas to play with using the water source mods and indeed that big lake that we have in Ilos too. So indeed, some very fun ideas to be working with in this space today. Let's build a watery suburb, shall we? The first thing I want to do now is just have a little chat about where this arterial is now going to flow and why, because it will need to come through the suburb. So we'll pick this road here, and we're going to use the road anarchy tools here to create something of a sensible bridge, although it will need a little bit of help with move it. So we'll tell road anarchy to force this into an elevation. We're going to bring it right across the bridge to about there. That's going to be great. I'm going to force it back down to ground. Very nice. Let's also do the same thing here as well. So I'm going to allow these arterials to meet on a bridge, which might not be the most realistic bit of road infrastructure you're ever likely to see, but it's going to be nice for Ilos. So again, we'll force into elevation, and then we will come through. We will need to delete some of these rocks that the wonderful Karina has placed. we will come back and make sure we reinstate that detailing. And then with move it now, let's just go ahead and grab nodes, and then we can just select all the nodes here. Give a little control on height, and then set everyone to the same height as where we taken off from with the bridge. And this should give us, you know, a nice bit of road infrastructure. It's going to sit just above the water. I think I'm a fan. So now this completes our next half-mile grid frame, which is going to allow us to work very much in the vein that we did over here. So the first thing that we need to talk about in order to get the spacing right between these sort of very watery, intense suburbs is just going to be kind of mapping out that initial spacing. So we're going to start coming out with a little palm-lined roads, and let's go for... So we'll come out from this 30 marker, and then we're going to come out with no road guideline. So So we can come out by 11, and then this is going to give me opportunities for back-to-back housings and zonings to sit against the arterial road, and indeed this new suburban network. So bring this all the way down. Obviously about there should be okay. Right, so we'll start setting up an initial frame. So let's talk about Noad Controller and how we can make Cul De Sacs, alright? So you want to come into a regular road. Now you need to draw off to the left or the right, so this kind of separates the node, and then I'm going to come out by 3. We can then come into Noad Controller. We can select the end here. And I've found that a 200% stretch is a pretty kind of nice rounded end, and then you can delete this one here. The reason why we need to do the node on the side is because if we don't, and we just stretch the entire road, then we can see what happens. Then it stretches the whole thing out. So make sure that you draw out that one. That's going to get you the little Cul De Sacs using Noad Controller, and you can use move it to, position houses around the edge of it if you want. So we definitely want to start bringing some curbs into this suburb. So I want to start moving around with my freeform tool. Just generate some simple curves. You could also use network multi-tool to do this if you want, but I'm pretty happy just to eyeball it today, I think. And I'm going to come out from this side as well. Let's go for about here. And then again, I'm going to come back with that freeform tool and start coming up this way, I think. And then we're going to find a nice spot to come out here. Again, it was 30 tiles we saved out this side, wasn't it? Yeah, 30. So let's keep that the same on this one as well. So we'll come out from here. Again, we'll go by 11, and then we can come down and save those same back-to-back tiling spaces between the arterial and the new network frame. That's going to allow us to kind of maximize the zonable space here today, right? Now let's come in with a little freeform curve now, and then probably a curve tool. Snap to that road guideline. Then we can come up. That's going to be wonderful. And then this one can also come and hook in now as well. Okay. Now what we'll do is once we have the water flowing, we'll just come back with kind of force into, bridge upgrade and force these into some bridges so the water can come through. But I feel like this isn't going to be bad start for what we're initially after. Again, Palm's very much an important look at the suburb today. So again now, what I am keen to develop is some more of these little Cul De Sac roads, okay? And again, we're going to do exactly the same thing. Drawing out by 3 on either side, and then just using Noad Controller. I can find it, there we go, to stretch this out to 200%. Of course, if you find a different percentage that works better for you, then use that one, but 200's a happy medium for me. And then it seems to be, these shapes just repeat as local roads off of the initial collector system. And we need to make sure that we allow, space for water to flow in and around these different areas today. So why don't we come off of this one here? It's going to be good. We'll do another one. Let's go for 3. And then 3. Then again, a little bit of Noad Controller. Stretch out to 500%, which is way too much. There we go, 200's right. So we're going to set up Steve Goodwin's square here. Thank you so much for all your support, Brassac. You are a real secret blend of herbs and spices, mate. I really do appreciate it. Go into themes, we can hit enable theme manager. So I've made a theme here for single story res, which is just a lot of the kind of single story vanilla residential assets. You'll see them as they come in here. So we definitely want to apply single story res to the Brassac district, or Steve Goodwin, depending on how familiar you are with our good friend from the Discord. And then let's just zone up some spaces here, just so we can start to see some residential sat around these areas, and then we can have a look at what things are going to look like once we come in to start working with the water for the first time. So of course no one's going to live around here without parks, so let's go ahead and start throwing down some basketball courts maybe. Oh, not one there. And probably it's like a regular vanilla dog park or something should be okay for right now. Let's go ahead and throw it on the corner. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Just a collection of appropriate assets, I think, anyway. Okay, it's not too bad. Relatively happy with that for right now. Let's make sure that we are giving power to the area, though. You guys are not connected in. That would be why. let's go for there. That should hopefully fix the issues. Yes, there we go. Also connect that through as well. Wonderful. Okay, so let's start having a look at how assets are going to sit around the edge of these Cul De Sacs. Let's just go ahead and place down like 3 for right now. Okay, and then we'll use move it to just jiggle them into position. Let's go for like 1 on the corner there. Of course, any resulting jank from setting up a suburb like this can always be fixed with our detailing time lapse today. And now let's bring this one right onto the corner. Okay, so I'm relatively happy with that aesthetic. We've got some nice vanilla residential buildings here and a cute little Cul De Sac at the end that someone's parked on now. Alright. There he goes. Let's make sure that we do the same thing over here as well. Make sure we get some more zoning in. Do you like these ones? Although I'm aware I have called this theme single story residential, but currently using assets that are 2 stories, so just bear with me, alright? It's going to be okay. And there we go. That gives us our setup suburb. Okay, there's going to be a lot of plopping today in order to get, especially these Cul De Sac roads, looking and sitting appropriately. Alright. Very nice. Let's go ahead and set up a few more frames of these, just in and around the general area. See if we can save in 22 units between each one. It looks like we can just come out here again, and that's a distance of 13, isn't it? So again, I can do that here. Now, why don't I bend off the Cul De Sac end to the left this time and see if that helps us just start to introduce little bits of differentiation into the build, which I think it does, okay? I think I can get on board with that. Again, just glancing back to our inspiration from Google Earth, I can see that there is kind of some designs that are very short in terms of these little Cul De Sac roads. Make sure that we carry on our collector system up and into here. Curve road tool is going to be more than appropriate if we can snap onto the road guidelines. There we go. Okay. It's coming together, isn't it? Of course, making sure from all angles that we're still blending into the vibe and overall aesthetic of the city. It's quite important. Alright, well, it's coming together, but I think everyone is really just waiting for the water, aren't they? So I can already see some initial problems where the water is going to have trouble flowing. Definitely here. So let's shatter the back of that one. Then also widen this curve out at the back here as well. And then we can start to play with some water, hopefully, and see whether or not this idea even comes off. Because I very briefly tested it off camera. It did seem to work, but of course the curse of recording might throw off any designs I've put together off camera. Okay, I want to start terraforming now, okay? Everyone wants the water, right? That's why we're all here. So first of all, let's come ahead and start upgrading some of these sections into bridge. So that's going to come under. This can all flow wonderfully, although this one needs to be amended ever so slightly as well. Let's move our 2 basketball courts across. There we go. And then we can grab this road again. Let's bring you right down. Yeah, that'll give us enough room. Some pathway detailing possible here as well. Okay, and then we need one more bridge section, so let's go for this one right here. Yeah, that should be good. So let's just get this tested out, alright? Let's go and make sure that we're happy with how this is going to look. So I'm just going to grab a layer of terraforming out of the lake. I don't want it to be the very bottom layer, so let's go for like the second contour lineup. This should be enough for us. This brush is probably a little bit wide. Let's bring that down a bit. Okay, so let's just make sure that we can actually come under the bridges first of all. Okay, it's going to be really important for the water to flow. And then bring this through. So along the back of the houses is quite an interesting point. At some points during the suburb in Phoenix, it looks as though it is kind of keyed off. And at other points, it looks as though it's just kind of dirt and sand. You know, it's not had any kind of special landscaping paid into the area. So we'll see what we do today. We might end up doing some seawall keys. We'll just wait and see. Okay, but let's let the game flow. Stick it on 3 speed, and then we can hopefully see this watery suburb come to life. So this is going to look horrific today before it even starts to look good, as with most of our builds on the channel at this point, alright? Here comes the water. Let's, oh, looks like he's got a little bit of a mound there to surpass. Let's clear that out for him. Okay. There we go. Did just get an achievement as well for a postman. Very nice. Finally unlocking achievements now. I'm playing modded Cities Skylines. After 7 years. Okay, but here it comes. Of course, we can widen it out here as we need to. But otherwise, very much seeing the water come by the houses is an aesthetic that I'm very keen on seeing today. So, I'll wait for it to come through. And then we'll be right back once it's filled up. Okay, so there we have it. The water is now kind of coming through. So with the exposed stone on the back of the residentials, it's very much kind of significant jank. So I'm thinking this is where our walkable seawall keys are going to come into play. So I don't want to snap to a road guideline and align them with the Cul De Sacs. Of course, we're playing with Key, so shorelines don't really matter that much anymore. So we bring this out in a few places. Let's just continue to test it, alright? So now we've got the key in with Key. We can just terraform up against that to reveal the actual key itself. Which hopefully once the water comes back up and around it to a sensible height. I think the walkable seawall keys certainly have a place within this build. Okay, obviously this is a little bit janky right now, but yeah, I think definitely just hide some of that exposed stone texture. The alternative would just to be to come in with the softened terrain tool and take away the stone like that and leave it as some kind of natural sloped bank into the water. This one takes up a little more space though. Okay. But we can see kind of a very early initial concept design of the watery suburb here if we want. So I think I'm generally happy with this concept now. Okay, we have our Cul De Sac roads that come off the collector systems with the palms. I'm quite happy with this aesthetic. It's now just going to be a point of getting this design everywhere else within the Mar grid frame. So we'll speed this up, fill out these areas, and start to develop maybe something of a visitor centre for the lake here. I might put in like the driving range, unique building or something. Just as a homage to some of Phoenix's golf course action, because there's loads of them. And we will eventually build a golf course, but not today. Okay, and then we can have a look at some frontage action up against the lakefront where people can come and enjoy. Okay, so let's speed this up. Let's get the road networks planned out, and then we'll see what we think. Okay, so things are definitely progressing. I've kind of chiseled out a couple of little islands using the kind of bridge upgrade tool. And I think I'm mostly happy with the shape of the water as it flows around the residentials. Also, we want to do maybe a little bit of Biffer-inspired finagling here to let the water come through a little bit easier. Looks like it's going to be a good idea. Let's go ahead and redo that one. Let's grab this node here. We will force down to ground. Then we will force upgrade into bridge here, which should just widen out that node for us. Very nice. Come back down to ground. And then come into here as well. So this isn't a design that's kind of too far out the realms of possibility from vanilla. It would certainly take you a lot longer using the vanilla terraforming tools to do something like this, but certainly not something that's absolutely impossible, you know. Could probably use canals in the vanilla game, to be fair, for it. But it's a very unique aesthetic, isn't it? It really is. Seeing all the water come by the houses like this, especially in a desert setting. You know, and when I first started Ilos, I didn't think I'd be working with that much water at all, but after having spent a little bit of time in Google Earth now, there's a lot of water in Phoenix. Okay, so now it's just a simple case of zoning up all my residential patterns exactly where I want them to appear. I definitely want lots of action coming down these spaces too, all up in here as well. And then what we'll do is during our detailing time lapse, we'll come in and amend the corner Cul De Sacs. So I'll make sure I don't go too close up to them really. And then we'll use move it to put them all around. And then we'll also do our keys during the detailing time lapse as well. Hopefully now let's just have a little test. When the keys have a more rigid sort of structure here to snap to, I'm hoping that will be okay. So we can sort of begin to see what this would look like, and then maybe with a little bit of move it, we can just slide this back and hopefully see a little more aesthetic purpose with the seawall keys. And again, anarchy and move it. It's going to be really nice for getting all these in, but I'm still undecided whether or not I want keys or sand to line the water. Again, like some places in Phoenix, some of them are keyed and some of them are sand, so I guess we could do a mix and match, right? Doesn't have to be kind of one shoe fits all. Alright, so these are growing, some slight flooding as we delete the key, but that'll calm down. Let's talk about some sort of visitor park centre for people to come and visit the lake here. So, did mention including the driving range unit building here, which I think is certainly an aesthetic, isn't it? How loud is this boy? What's this noise pollution? Oh, 0. Okay, that's good then. Just has an entertainment value. That's very good. I'm happy with that. Let's come ahead and grab a different road now. Let's go for something 2-lane and fancy. How about one of these little asymmetrical Vanilla Plus ones? This seems like it might be a nice time for everyone involved. Why does it have aloe vera plants though? I have no idea. Let's change that. Let's go for maybe some of our pink jacaranda perhaps. I'm a huge lover of this new content creator tree. It is amazing. Okay, so we'll bring that in here. And it doesn't carry my tree over, which is fine. Let's go ahead and get that unique building placed. So I think I definitely want a car park out the front of this. But how much room do we actually have to play with? I might need to terraform a little bit here, but it's okay. Let's come ahead and grab a parking lot road. I think we'll go for a small 22 meter one. Let's bring this out by 10. And then get our car park sorted in. Thank you all for all support across the mod tutorial for car parking. Glad you guys enjoyed it and found it useful. Right, let's just stick it there for right now, and then we'll grab move it to give him the old switcheroo. And then hopefully bring this somewhat in line. Definitely lots more park assets around here today as well. Yes, we're not encroaching too much on the lake there. I'm relatively happy with that, I think. That's going to be a nice time, isn't it? Okay, now I'm not adverse to turning this area in and around the lakefront into a park again. Because indeed, the park life people are becoming increasingly furious with me as I refuse to use park life areas in the city. And we have Jane Starr's garden. Wonderful. Let's go ahead and paint that Jane's garden. Okay, and we'll probably have this envelop all of this side over here as well. Wonderful. Jane and Brassac combining in a waterfront suburb. Again, I think I want to use nature reserve pathway just for that natural look with the lighting, okay. So let's do this. Let's go for driveway here. Bring it around. I'm going to come off all my snapping as well because the road guideline's really going to not play fair. And again, I'm not really bothered about having this park area as some sort of park life cheese. It's very much just a recreational space for the people of Ilos to come and enjoy. Do not do that. Why are you driving across the path? Stop. Happens all the time. Like every episode. Yeah, and you guys always point it out as well, which is great. So thank you for that. There we go. Let's just extend the fence in a little bit. Okay, but let's first of all decide how we feel about driving range to sit as some sort of suburb centre, if you like. It's definitely not too dominant, is it? It's nice. It's a nice little jump in height as you surround it with low density residential here. I think I'm going to be happy with that. I think I'm going to enjoy it. Come back in and start zoning up because we are just pure screaming for residential demand in Ilos at this point. So all these big zonable 4x4 spaces, yes please, let's get lots of residential in here. Likewise in there as well. It's all very packed in around here where there isn't water. So certainly something we want to respect as we come into this area. I'm not adverse to having housing on the arterial here either. Not lots of it, but a little bit will be okay. Yeah, let's get all that in. And then all this as well. And of course, all this area is going to need to be serviced and, you know, made attractive with parks and whatnot so people actually want to live here. Because at the minute, it is just kind of wet desert. Which doesn't sound the most appealing place in the world to live, does it? There we go. Yeah, okay, so we can see where the terraforming is struggling with us just ever so slightly, but that's going to be okay. Let's just terraform that back out. Looks like this is where we could possibly end with some rock action if we wanted to. Yeah, I think we can certainly bring in some kind of rock and more overgrown vibes around here to help round out, you know, this corner of the lake anyway. Lots of long grasses and certainly some cactus as well to please the locals. Because again, I'm shouted at a near daily basis now to include more cactus in Ilos. Okay. It's not too bad, is it? Definitely lots of overgrowth around the water today as well is going to be really key for hammering home the vibe, but it's already looking nice, isn't it? It's a lot more freeform than the Few Candy Lake suburb was. You know, this is very much kind of focusing on geometry to let the suburb be what it is. And we kind of have like a centerpiece of water here. But, no, over here it's a lot more freeform, a lot more fluid, a lot more natural looking, I think, you know? I think I'm having a nice time with it. Anyway, let's carry on with our part detailing. So certainly some of the assets we used last time are going to work really nicely here. Let's go ahead and get a regular, you know, part life gazebo in. At the head here, let's go and grab a nature reserve viewing deck perhaps as well. You know, don't be afraid to mix and match different park assets and park themes. I'm probably not totally adverse to having a little camping fire down here either, you know. Possibly something from the zoo asset, maybe like a zoo restroom. Maybe up on the corner here. Don't do that. Why? Just drive around like he is, like the blue car. Do what the blue car does, right? Okay, so a little kind of entrance building in here. And again, we can have a little talk about some initial detailing concepts and templates for the area. Where we can bring in a fence with no snapping. Just let this hug the shoreline. Right. And then we can use that as a boundary to now bring in those overgrowth kind of bushes, if you like. That's not too harsh a word. Some cacti in there too. Definitely lots of palms. Kind of in and around all this park area. And then probably some content creator grass as well, I think. Very much enjoying these longer grasses at the minute. Here's sort of plant of the month, if you like. Where have you come from? What? What are you doing? How did you get all the way over there? Okay. No, I'm not sure why that happens. I think it's because maybe they read that node as closer, so they just levitate over to it. Not entirely sure, but there we go. Okay, just a little bit of overgrowth detailing alongside the lake shore now. It's going to help embed a little community park area into the area a little bit more. Definitely a community pool as well. That's going to be a fantastic asset over here. Yeah. I think I'm going to enjoy that. And then certainly just some regular park assets will go nicely in here too. Such as, you know, vanilla dog parks and whatnot. That just gives us a little bit of centre. I think I'm also going to place in maybe some Rico commercial over here as well. It's maybe like a little fast food place, if we can find one. How about like a Panda Express? Panda Express is chicken, I think, isn't it? We don't have it in the UK, but I'm sure it serves chicken. Does it say? Can't really read it. Gourmet Chinese food. Okay, it's Chinese food. Yes, of course. What are they called? Panda. What else would it be? Okay, but I guess the Chinese eat chicken, right? So technically it was, right? There we go. So upgrade that road as well. Okay, so a little commercial centre, and again, I can already see the opportunities for potentially. We will see. This isn't a definite, but we'll see what happens as we come to introduce some elevated zoo paths over the water, if we like. I'm definitely not adverse to that. That's going to be really good in some places, I think. Having the grassy zoo path come over the water like that. Alright, very nice. Of course, these folks are going to want education. We do need an elementary and probably a high school over here as well. Definitely a high school over here, I think. So let's have a look at some of those services as to how we can provide them into the area. Let's come on to a row length and angle snap. And probably just bring this right the way through at this point. Okay, where we need to add a light here, or the round versions, I'll just stick a light in there for right now, so we lose the median. Cool. There is versions of these with rounded tips, so you get them. But we'll worry about that later on. So, again, I'm going to come down with a little road here, and I'm going to be happy to perhaps bring it a touch shorter, and then we'll go for, again, another parking lot road. Maybe something a little wider this time. How's about that? Yes, I think going to be okay, although I know I'm going to have to shatter the back of this road right here, where we come in with some high school assets. There's American ones we have used before. These ones is the ones that I'm after. Go ahead and spin this around so it faces the car park. I think this will be some nice arterial road decoration as well. We definitely want to break the power lines though. And then we'll just reinstate this one. So I'm using the poorly maintained pack here. And you can tell the difference between the two. I think one's a lot more Phoenix looking. Because, you know, the asphalt does crack under the intense heat. So I think I'm going to go for some poorly maintained parking here. Not that it makes a difference. It's literally just an aesthetic choice. So I have actually finally downloaded the disabled parking assets, but it looks like I haven't turned them on. So I'm going to save a little spot there for some accessibility parking to come in, so don't worry about that. And then, why don't we partner this with a gymnasium as well? Gymnasium's always a good shout with the high school, isn't it? I'm definitely also keen on introducing some elevated walking infrastructure in around the metro to get people back into without taking up space on the crosswalks. So let's do that. Do I want to go for Zoo Path? I feel like I might. We'll see. Let's tell it to behave normally, and we'll see if we can wrap it around the back of the metro station here. I want to come up by 6 meters, I think. It's a little bit steep, but we should be okay. Alright, and then we can simply just repeat these measurements now. come down by 42. So a little bit of symmetrical elevated zoo path action, which hopefully the Sims will read as it kind of spans down into this area now, and we can provide connections into the suburb via walkability, which is always a good thing. So I could force them to use the bridge by removing the pedestrian crossing functionality, but yes, there we go. Finally someone uses it. Yeah, so we could totally turn off the pedestrian crossing functionality here, but I'm not really bothered about it. Alright, I'm going to use my little zoo path here as decoration. You can also see where I can possibly squeeze in some little palm gardens to occupy this. Right, a little elevated zoo path and palm action. This is like peak overcharged egg. Alright, the first modded zoo path in the city. Which gets little to no use, but it looks nice. So who cares? Okay, very nice indeed. Very nice. So I think on this side of the suburb here, where we come in with a 6-lane arterial, I'm just going to keep it as 4x4 zoning along the back of the arterial, rather than having it sat on the arterial itself. So I think the last thing I want to have a look at today before we move into some sort of detail in time-lapse is the extension of this waterfront here. And I'm thinking maybe if we take away these rocks, I'm thinking what we can do is possibly introduce a little bit, just a small splash of nightlife zoning. Almost like a little bit of a lakefront bar where people can come and enjoy the area. So let's go ahead and terraform that out and remove some of the rock detailing. Of course, this will all be reintroduced, so I would hate to take away from the detailing that Karina did in this map and hundreds of hours that they put into it to get this to look right. Really don't want to take it away from them. Let's bring this around the corner, right? Gonna be happy with that for the most part. Come ahead and grab this road again as well, and then what we'll do is make sure we're on a road length snap. And let's just see if we can use this as a little bit of a kind of frontage area, okay? And then maybe over here too. Let's come ahead and grab that path again so we walk in and continue to increase the walkability. And I think we'll just use find it and put the grow balls to bring in just the little favourite tourism and nightlife assets, just kind of the small bars. Okay, let's 2 of the same asset, let's not do that. Let's go for, yeah, maybe one of the, I don't like that one. Its texture spills that onto the front. Let's find a different one. Let's also not forget the tourism assets either, like a little swordfish, seafood and grill. Happy with that. Then maybe a little beach restaurant over here as well. So of course these are loud assets and they are right near residential. So there's not too many of them. We shouldn't have a problem. But I think just something to help it is going to be maybe a little vanilla dirt path. Back here. Again, continuing to increase walkability. And I think a bunch of kind of shielding live oaks between the waterfront and the residential area should give us a nice aesthetic. And let's not be afraid to mix in some palms into there either. Okay. Then a little bit of nightlife and waterfront action. Let's not forget our waterfront parks either. Perhaps a little, not a jet ski rental I don't think, but definitely the restaurant pier and perhaps maybe some fishing tools as well. I think definitely a quay along this side would be appropriate, I think, wouldn't it? So let's go ahead and see what we think of that. Let's snap to a road guideline. We'll come up with anarchy as well. And then we can just bring these 2 up and hopefully just jiggle around a little bit with move it so they're not encroaching upon the seawall quay itself, but we can hopefully develop a little bit of a vibe, especially at night time here. The tourism and nightlife asset should stand out a little bit more with their illuminations, okay? It's going to blend in quite nicely with the driving range asset thing as well. I think I'm happy with that. It's not going to be too bad, is it? However, guys, this does feel like a wonderful place for a detailing time-lapse. We have a bunch of work to do in order to tidy up around the edge of the Cul De Sac roads, again, using Move It to get all these residentials in. Likewise over here too. Lots more natural rock and overgrowth detailing around the edge of the lake, so it blends in a little more naturally, and we get rid of this texture right here, which is the ruined one. Make sure we get rid of that by doing some softening. Continue to design some more nightlife assets around the corner here at the back of the driving range. Should be able to clip them in with Anarchy. Come through and place in a bunch of services. I think we'll probably place in, some fire and police on one of these islands. And then just hopefully tie in the kind of free-flowing water suburb into the area a little bit more. Okay? So as always, we'll be right back. Okay guys, that is going to do it for today. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, likes, comments and shares below really help out my channel. If you've fallen in love with the work and would like to help support, there are links down to Patreon and Instant Gaming below. And equally as much, if you hate the video, please feel free to leave a dislike as well. Really happy with this new concept of a water suburb, kind of following on from last episode's few candy lakes, but a much more different shape here as well. I've also downloaded some fountain water jet props off of the workshop, which look really cool around here. You'll see them during our closing cinematics today. I will also leave them linked down below if you want to go and play with them. But traffic is really nice around here. Tons of people catching the metro station on the arterial frame now. So nice to see that public transport just helping to alleviate a little bit of the pressure in and around the Mar grid frame. As always, there was a ton of detail you guys wouldn't have seen, so do hang around for the rest of the outro tag, and of course check out this thing at night time as it sets into Ilos. Guys, I will shut up and I will leave it there. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.